Yep, Genrethon is over and I read 3 books, so yay, I actually completed the task, one of the 2 tasks. So I will be talking about these books in a bit of a wrap up and probably mini reviews in a way, and then my thoughts on the first few stories I've read out of this one here. So the first book I completed in Genrethon was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is classed as a science fiction book on Goodreads. That's where I got all my genres from. And this one I gave a 4.25 out of 5 stars. And I really enjoyed this one. I'm actually still thinking about it. To me, it felt like a movie. I feel like I just want to go back and rewatch an episode or rewatch this scene. But it was so visual, and I do like RPG games, so role-playing games, and all the first characters where you see your character running around the world and you can go off and do quests. So it was like playing a game for me. I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. So the basic premise of this story is that you're following Wade Watts, who is a teenager going to school. He's probably in his last year of school, which is all held on this game as such called Oasis. Now it's this like virtual reality that everyone in the human race plugs into. Now this is in the future. It is set in 2044. The creator of the Oasis died 5 years before this story starts, and he left in his will that leave all of his money to the person who can complete his quest. And in the quest you have to find 3 keys and then find the 3 gates and then unlock the gates, doing multiple challenges in this Oasis world to finally unlock the will and actually succeed to his wealth. And because he is the creator of Oasis, we're talking in the billions upon billions of dollars that they can win. Of course, you're going to have big corporations and fairly shady characters after this, but Wade's avatar, Parzival, is actually one of the first people to clear the first clue and actually obtain the very first key. And of course, that means he is now at the center of attention, and all these things start happening from there. It's a really great read and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I listened to it on audiobooks as well as reading it at the same time if I didn't have the book on hand, and it just made for an amazing experience, both experiences. The next book I finished was The Enchanted by Renee Denfeld. Now this is classed in the magical realism, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5. It wasn't my highest rated. This is probably the one I rated the lowest out of the 3 books I finished, but I think it's because when finishing it I was still questioning the themes in the book itself, and I thoroughly enjoyed the magical realism aspects which are portrayed through the story. Now this is set in a prison, and it was probably one of the first times I've read a magical realism story set in a very industrialized setting, because to me magical realism is in food, in nature, in water, but it's amazing how Renee Denfeld has managed to capture those basic, well not basic, but those essential magic realism qualities and insert them into this. So things become like animals, things become like nature and water and things like that. So it was an amazing book for the magical realism elements, and I found them fascinating. It still had me questioning some of the themes. I won't go too much into it because it does give it away what it kind of explores, because you get little plot stories, you follow a few characters around, because the main person who's telling the story, the narrator, he is within the death row, and so he is able to follow the stories of other inmates, people who visit the prison. Even when they're outside of the prison, he can tell their story as such, and I find it incredibly fascinating. And I still have a few questions of whether those stories were true, like if it was like of his fictional tellings. That is something, in my opinion, that might have been a bit interesting, but otherwise I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not sure, I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. I'm not sure if everyone would enjoy it. I just found it fascinating. I didn't 100% like shove it in your face, kind of really loved it. But if you're interested in discovering and reading about some magical realism, but remember it's in a very harsh environment, I would definitely pick this up if you are interested in that. The last book I finished during Genrethon was Sidekicks by Wilka Starkus. Now, this is actually a YA book, it's a YA contemporary, and I really, really enjoyed this. It is actually from the point of view from the three guys who we see here, and their mutual friend has died at the start of the book. That's what you find out. Now, the first point of view is from the swimmer, whose name is Ryan. The second one is from the rebel, otherwise known as Harley. And then the last one is from the nerd, who is Miles. Now, these three guys are really different in their own likes, but they all had the mutual friend of Isaac, and Isaac was a very outgoing and lovable character. Isaac's death actually forces the three guys to go through grief, and they all go through it in various different circumstances, and they have different reasons for their grief and for their loneliness and how they approach that. Ryan was amazing. He was a very interesting and very succinct first character to be introduced to. He spoke well. The writing that you're reading, it was very easy. He had a flow. He was a swimmer, so maybe that had been linked into the imagery there. And he was dealing with secrets that he was suffering with, and he'd only told Isaac, so now he had to once again be alone with his secrets, and so he didn't know how to quite deal with that. And it's a way of, he needed a way to reach out again. The second guy, Harley, he's a rebel. He escaped. He ran away. He's a boarder, and he ran away to stay with his dad for a couple of weeks, and just to see how he could manage through that grief. And he felt guilt because he left Isaac on the day he died, and he didn't really look after him. So he has that friend guilt of, I should have looked after my friend more. Finally, you see Miles. His perspective was interesting because where there was a really great flow and use of language in Ryan's, the swimmer. The rebel obviously had all the slang and the cos, C-O-Z, and all the different modern lingo in Harley's. And then finally, Miles, he loved screenwriting. So his was actually written as if it was a screenwriting. And it was really interesting, the script itself. His character once again felt removed. He felt that his only friend was Isaac, so he had to go through that loneliness again. And I thought how Wilka Starkus was able to focus on three different types of grief, but still managed to interlink the story. So it was really well done. I really enjoyed this. This was actually my highest rated book out of Genrethon, because even though it took me basically the entire week to read, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I will pick it up again to reread at some time in the future. I know I will. The last one I am in kind of a little bit over a third into. I'm on page 87. I was a little bit disappointed I didn't get to finish it, but I wanted to go slower with this one. I didn't want to rush it because all the stories were written by different authors who all had different styles and different approaches to the women's history, and I was really enjoying it. And so I've continued to read it over the time, and I am really thoroughly enjoying this one. I think I'll do a full review of it later when I finish it, because I want to see if all the stories link together in a way, or if the whole progression of the Cranky Ladies actually leads towards a more unified story, or if it is just the short stories all combined. But this was a great read. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Genrethon actually motivated me to read this, and yeah, I'll be doing a review of it soon. These are the 3 1/3 books I managed to finish in Genrethon, and I had a great time. I will do it next time. I've already told the girls who hosted it I will be doing it later in the year. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye!